Hello and welcome to stage 4 of the OVO Energy Women's Tour. This is the penultimate stage here in Chesterfield, and the riders have got a tough day ahead of them with over 2,000 metres of climbing and these not so glorious weather conditions. But before we get to the action today, let's take a quick look at what happened yesterday. 93 riders set off to undertake the longest stage of this year's race, a 151-kilometre route to Leamington Spa. Kasia Niewiadoma was all smiles as she rode off in the race leader's green jersey. After 26 kilometres of racing, a big crash brought down riders from a number of GC teams, eventually resulting in Elena Amialusik of Canyon SRAM abandoning the race. The first iceberg sprint of the day in Kenilworth was won by Olympic champion Katie Archibald of WNT, with stage 2 winner Amy Peters taking maximum points in the day's second sprint in Wellsburn. A third place finish for Jolien Dor of Wiggle High Five means she will wear the sprint's jersey during stage 4. A 5-rider break soon formed, and those riders contested the 2 Skoda Queen of the Mountain climbs of the day. Cecile Ludwig of Cervelo Bigla took maximum points on both the Edge Hill and Burton Bassett ascents. With 25 kilometres to go, the 5-woman group held a lead of 1 minute 30, but the peloton were in no mood to let them stay away, and the lead was steadily whittled down before the inevitable catch was made with 5 kilometres to go.
Oh, there's a crash there. Oh my goodness me, and that's Marianne Vos that's gone down. Look at this now. It is Barnes trying to come through on the inside. Hoskins going to take this from Barnes.
Polish champion Katarina Niewiadoma retains the overall lead. She's 1 minute 43 ahead of Ellen van Dijk. The Barnes sisters Alice and Hannah are a couple of seconds further back, and they are joined in the top 10 by Katie Archibald and Danny King. Marianne Vos, who started the day second in the GC, suffered a broken collarbone, and she will not be on the start line for stage 4. I'm joined by Rochelle Gilmore in the lovely British rain weather. Let's talk about yesterday though, because it was the longest stage on the tour so far.
Yeah, I mean, that was quite demanding for the athletes. They'd already had some longer stages before that, so yesterday was really the big one because it was so long. It was designed for the sprinters and it came down to a bunch sprint, but it was demanding for the athletes, so I'm sure that they're happy to have that one out of the way.
And from a British point of view, there's 4 British riders in the top 10. How impressed are you with that?
Really impressed. I mean, it's been very unpredictable to have these 4 British riders in the top 10. So we have Alice Barnes and Hannah Barnes. They're racing for 3rd place on GC in a World Tour race, so it's really special. Katie Archibald from the track, she's doing really well in top 10, and of course Danny King's up there as well. So it's a really exciting race for the British riders.
And we do have to mention Marianne Vos. How much of a blow is it that she's out with that crash yesterday?
It's a massive blow for her team and her teammate Kasia Niewiadoma, who's leading the race here. So to not have Marianne Vos by her side just makes today much more challenging, and mentally, because she has to cover everything. Her team didn't come in on, you know, the strongest team on paper, but she had Marianne Vos, and that was her confidence. Now Marianne Vos is out with a broken collarbone. It was a devastating accident in the final sprint yesterday for Marianne, so I think she'll be out for 6 to 8 weeks now. But Kasia Niewiadoma has all the weight on her shoulders today. She's going to have to cover every single move. Tomorrow is a little bit like maybe the last day of the Men's Tour de France, where it's a bit more relaxing, but it's all about today. Kasia Niewiadoma has to do this today.
All right, I'm very much looking forward to the action, and I know that last night you went for a bit of a behind-the-scenes look at yesterday's winners team.
So Chloe, obviously every day on tour is a busy day, but perhaps more busy when you win a stage.
Yeah, every day, you know, you want to tick all the boxes for recovery. You get your shake in, and then you jump in the team bus, have a shower, get dressed, get on the road as quick as possible. But when you win, it's a bit more of a whirlwind. You know, you meet up with all your teammates after the finish and you sort of talk about what happened, and there's a lot of emotion going on, and then on the podium, off to the anti-doping, and then you do a press conference, and and somewhere in there I need to, you know, I still haven't messaged my parents, so.
So is it time to head off for a massage now?
Yeah, it is one of my recovery steps, so.
So because you win the stage today, do you get priority with the massage? Do you get a bit extra, a bit longer, a bit?
No, I don't think so. Stefano is very professional, so I'm sure he gives every girl the same treatment.
And how long do you have each day on the massage table?
It really depends how much time. I mean, we're a bit fortunate today because, you know, we started the stage early, so we actually got to the race hotel a bit earlier. Anywhere from half an hour to an hour.
And how are you feeling? Do you have any injuries that need attending to, or?
No, I'm pretty good, but I just have tight muscles, so every time I get on the massage table I apologize. I'm like, I'm sorry, I do stretch, but yeah, they just seize back up again.
E io con il massaggio schiaccio e il muscolo torna disteso e faccio male. Però
Stefano has explained that the muscles have been contracting all day and they've become very tense and tight, and his job is to separate them, to loosen them, so they can do the same thing and function well tomorrow.
Va bene, Stefano.
grazie.
Rochelle, what can we expect from today, especially because yesterday was the longest stage? Are they really going to feel that?
Absolutely, they're going to feel it in the legs. I think a lot of the riders will be relieved to have got through that longest stage, but today's been categorised as the hardest stage. It's a very tough day, and obviously they've got the weather challenging them as well. So I think with very fatigued legs, today's going to be a really, really tough day.
Let's look a bit closer, because you mentioned the weather. It's extremely wet here, and also there's 2,000 metres of climbing.
Yeah, so I think at the end of the day today we're going to really see the fittest and the strongest of this race come out and show us what they have, because it's been demanding until this point, and today's the last chance for teams to get a podium, get a win. So I think we'll see all the classic style riders. Kasia Niewiadoma herself, who's winning. The rider who was second last year, Ashley Millman from Bigler, will be up there. We've got Elisa Longo Borghini from the Wiggle team who crashed yesterday. She's likely to be up there. But then there's a number of other classics riders that we might see get in there and contend for the win. But I think it's really going to be the strongest of the strongest today at the finish.
Would you say it's quite wide open then? You mentioned quite a lot of different teams and riders in that.
I think there's a lot of classic styles riders here because they knew coming to this race that it would be really tough. So I think there's a lot of riders that have just been waiting for their opportunity, and for a lot of riders it hasn't come yet. It's only a 5-day stage race, so coming into the 4th day, a lot of riders will be feeling pressure to bring home that podium or result for their team. So anything can happen today. I think the most likely thing is that the real top riders on the GC will be the ones contending for the win, but we could see some other riders lower on GC, classic style riders, come out and have a go today.
All right, thanks Rochelle. You mentioned today, so let's see what's in store for the riders. An arduous day of climbing lies ahead for the riders on stage 4. The first Skoda Queen of the Mountains ascent is at Middleton Top. Belper hosts the opening iceberg sprint before another climb at Cryche. The second sprint of the day is at Staveley before the race heads back to Chesterfield. Famous for its crooked spire church, the historic market town of Chesterfield in Derbyshire hosts the start and finish of stage 4 of the OVO Energy Women's Tour. Located just to the east of the Peak District National Park, this area of Derbyshire has it all. Pretty villages, beautiful stately homes and spectacular scenery. Rochelle, come on then, I am going to ask you, who would you put your money on today?
It's a tough one because my favourites are actually out now. Mariana Vos is out with a broken collarbone. Elisa Longo Borghini descends really well and there's a descent into the finish, but she had a really hard crash yesterday, so one of my other favourites would have been Lizzie Deignan, and she's not been racing at her best here this week. So
yeah, why do you think that is?
It's very hard to know. I mean, she was positive coming into the race, but sometimes you might think you've done all the work and everything's going well, but maybe you've done too much work, and she's certainly not at her best, but she is definitely always a chance.
All right, let's see then. Let's get straight to the action then and join your commentators, Hugh Porter and Sharon Laws.
Well, welcome to Chesterfield for the start of stage 4, and this really is going to be very, very tough indeed. 123 kilometres, the shortest. It's labelled the Queen stage. It's a tortuous leg with no respite, and this will decide the final destiny of the green jersey. 86 then have rolled away.
Yes, Q, this is going to be a really hard stage today. Although there's obviously the 2 categorised climbs for the mountain jersey, it's up and down constantly the whole day. The first part of the race is going to be really critical. There's some very hard climbs between 12 and 28 kilometres, and it's very narrow road. So
4 non-starters we showed you on the screen, and of course a big player crashed yesterday, Mariana Vos. We'll mention that a little further on in commentary, but the conditions, probably the worst conditions you could ever expect for a stage like this. It's raining and visibility will be very, very difficult indeed.
Yeah, that looks really awful. Of course, for some riders, they prefer those kind of stages, like Lizzie Deignan, for example. She really loves racing in the rain, but we're going to see a lot of nervous riders as well who really don't like racing in these conditions.
Well, you just saw another couple of riders that have abandoned, so I think it's going to be one of those kind of days. You've got an attack on the front already from Sunweb. That looked a little bit like Brand to me.
Yeah, that's Lucinda Brandt. I think I said in one of the earlier stages, she also likes racing in the rain and she's a very good descender, so she could be going off the front now. Of course, she's only 7 points behind Cordon in the mountain jersey, and this could be a move for her to try and collect those extra points.
Well, she really is moving very sweetly here as she takes the right-hander and is getting very, very near to the start of the opening climb of the day at Middleton. Both climbs today are category 2, so it means there are points from 1 through to 6.
Yeah, this is Lucinda Brandt. She's just tackling this climb now. It'll be interesting to see. She's not a pure climber, but I think we've seen in this race she's actually climbing very well. Whether she can get those points ahead of Audrey Cordon. I'm sure, though, Wiggle High Five will be really helping Audrey with this chase. So look, you can actually, yep, we can already see them behind here. In Wiggle High Five, there's 2 very good climbers, Elisa Longo Borghini and Claudia Lichtenberg.
Well, the climb is 1.5 kilometres long, and just look at the damage the climb is doing already. Riders are being sprayed out of the back, but the green jersey is there. She's watching the early moves. She's not going to let anybody slip away unless she is in the group with them. That is if they're dangerous riders.
No, that's right. Those are all the climbers there. You could see Elisa Longo Borghini. She crashed yesterday and you could just see she had a bandage on her arm. Ashley Moorman-Passio from Bigler in the red helmet there, sitting second wheel, and as we said, Cassia Niewiadoma in the green jersey marking every move. But Lucinda Brandt's still there.
Wiggle High Five. They've got 2 in this little move, and there's the green jerseys, you can see, looking pretty good, Niewiadoma. But she really is going to be isolated today, isn't she, Sharon? Because she's lost her team leader, and that's Marianne Vos. So she's only got 4 other riders to help her.
Yes, that's right. And as you can see, she's already isolated from her teammates here. So she's going to have a tough day, and the other teams are going to be attacking her left, right and central.
Just saw a teammate there of Niewiadoma, so you can see that they're all already losing ground. That's Jackson, the Canadian, we caught a glimpse of as well. So this is the front group, and there is a sense of urgency into this. Niewiadoma just flicks the elbow to say to the others, come on, let's get on with this. We're starting to move clear, but that group behind is starting to bridge.
Yeah, you can see Audrey Cordon was in that group behind. Of course, she needs to be there because Lucinda Brandt's in the front group. She needs to get those points. Look, now it looks like they've all rejoined together before the top of the climb. So Lucinda Brandt still pushing on the pedals at the front though.
So it's Brand right at the front. It really is a tough, demanding ascent, this one. All forced out of the saddle as they dance on the pedals. And keep an eye out for Brand. She's going to be trying to get those points. And also Longo Borghini is also in there as well. They really have gone off the mark very, very quickly today. In fact, it's going to really put Niewiadoma under pressure because she's going to have to react to all these moves should she get distanced.
She is, that's right. And I think, as I said earlier, they're going to put everybody, Niewiadoma, under pressure at the beginning of the race because this is when the race is hardest, really hard climb. And now we can see Wiggle working really hard here to assist Audrey Cordon. That's Elisa Longo Borghini on the front there.
She looks as though she's going to set herself up for the charge to the line, and also there is Brand and Cordon. Yes, Borghini gets over the line first, Brand second, Cordon third, so it means that Brand has just clawed back 1 point on the overall standings in the Queen of the Mountains. There are the places for you, and it looks to me that all the big players are getting involved in this, so we're in for an absolute cracker of a race on this tough terrain. Don't go away. Welcome back. You're looking at the new lone leader. This is Shara Gillow. Around about 30 kilometres into this stage, after we went across the summit of the previous climb, the leaders were swept up and it gave this rider an opportunity to go clear.
Yeah, and of course Shara Gillow was in the break yesterday that was caught 5 kilometres from the finish, so she's obviously fancying her chances again.
And we've got a couple of chasers just behind, so it looks as though she's going to get some company here. Orica Scotta represented.
Yeah, of course, by Sarah Roy, who's also an Australian rider.
So the Australian rider's going really well today. So Gillow is joined by 2 riders now, Sarah Roy and Leah Kirchman. Now, Kirchman is a very fast finisher, the Canadian, so that's an interesting trio that are trying to distance themselves. And already they've managed to get 25 seconds advantage over a rather depleted peloton.
Yeah, that's right. Leah Kirchman, of course, got third at Ride London last year. So this is a good group here. You can see they're just chatting to each other.
And we're approaching the first sprint of the day at Belper, and they will have covered 50 kilometres when they get there. So these three riders, that's Kirchman, Roy and Gillow, will be the competitors that contest the 3, 2 and 1 second.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see whether they actually contest the sprint, because of course they're not going for the points and they're quite far back on GC. But you know, if they fancy their chances in the breakaway, then they're going to want those seconds to give them the advantage on the GC.
Something else we observed there as well, Sharon, was the fact that the rain is falling. It's getting a little bit slippy under the wheel, and when they were laying the bikes over, there was a lot of caution being shown.
Yeah, you can see again here, just taking those corners really carefully, because of course if they crash, that's going to be their day over.
Well, these three are not big players in the Iceberg Sprints classification, so it's not going to make any difference to the key riders in that competition. Jolene Dorr is still the leader with 8 points ahead of Archibald. But of course, there's always the pride of getting up the road for a few points, but it's the 3 seconds that are important, because on camper that could be very, very useful indeed. And it looks very much as though Kirchman's going to take it. She does. It was not contested, and Kirchman picked up the 3 seconds ahead of Roy and Gillow. How important will that be when we get to camp back towards the end? Well, I can tell you that there's not too much pace being set at the front of the peloton, and the three have established a lead of 2 minutes now.
No, that's right. And of course, Kasia Niewiadoma has... Oh, and there's an attack here. That's Lizzie Deignan going off the front.
So Lizzie Deignan, then, the winner of this race last year, poking her nose out the front here. Now, that's the first time we've really seen her. She's not been too well during the competition, but she's made a move there. Now, there must be some tactical plan here if Deignan's going down the road.
Yeah, that's right. Of course, Boels Dolmans want to put Niewiadoma under pressure, and they need to do that by attacking her and isolating her from any of her teammates. As you can see now, the leaders are approaching the base of the start of the second climb.
Now, I can tell you that this climb is longer than the first, and it's got a series of plateaus in it, but it rears up at the end, so it's very tough indeed. And with the length of the ascent, this is a perfect opportunity for the race to start getting reshaped.
Yeah, I think it's likely that Lizzie Deignan could possibly get across to this group now. Obviously, she's one of the best climbers.
Look at that, the way it rears up, and you can see that Deignan has now got the board in her sights that tells her where the start is. Well, the leaders are 50 seconds in front of Deignan.
Yeah, that's true. As I said, though, this group in front aren't climbers. They're mainly a group of sprinters, so I think Deignan could get across here.
And Lizzie Deignan has already established a 15-second advantage over the sharp end of the peloton. But just look at the way it rears up. Remember, I said it's a series of ramps, and there is sort of plateaus in it, but right at the end it's got quite a kick.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, and look, now we've got Kasia Niewiadoma trying to join Lizzie Deignan, and Ashley Moolman, another great climber from Bigla in the red helmet here.
So the leader there, Niewiadoma, is responding to every move. She's pin sharp today. She will need to be, and she'll need to be extra vigilant as well on the greasy roads and try and profit from the moves of any other riders, because the fact that she's got this window of advantage means the other key players are all going to be watching each other closely.
Yeah, that's right. And actually, Ashley Moolman-Passio is probably her biggest threat here, because she's the person who could get a time gap.
Kirchman, the Canadian on the Sunweb team, started the day 2 minutes and 2 seconds behind Niewiadoma, and remember, she's already picked up 3 seconds in the first sprint at Belper, so she's the real danger, as we now give you the composition of the next group that are chasing the three.
Yeah, here we have Niewiadoma's driving this group. Of course, if she gets away with just these riders who don't have teammates, this is a good advantage for her.
Certainly is a good group here. Moolman Passio is there, who finished second in this event last year. Longo Borghini and Deignan. So a handy four. Now, if they could join up with the three, a lot of different teams as well, but there's telltale signs of a crash from Borghini.
That was that crash yesterday. But she's riding really well given the crash.
Look at the crowds as well. They've really turned out to support this race. They know the riders as well. It's a very popular riding area here in Derbyshire, and the course is very, very demanding, and still it goes up. Just look at this, it's never ending.
No, this has shattered the peloton. It's lots of little different fragmented groups here.
And there's going to be a lot of riders lose massive amounts of time, but now there we are. That's the peloton that's fragmented into two, and it looks very much to me as though we could get a junction made there. Now, lone attacker here from Ayla Cipollini.
Yes, this is Ensing here coming across from Cipollini. She's a Dutch rider, also a very good climber. She's was finished top 10 in Flèche Wallonne and the Tour of Flanders.
And she's just literally eating up the ground that separates her from the four ahead. So this is good riding by Ensing. Meanwhile, the three are still clear.
Oh, this is so exciting. We've got different groups everywhere.
Noticeable as well that the two key players in the Queen of the Mountains competition are not among those front riders.
No, and I don't think they're going to get any points on this one.
So in that case, that means it's playing very nicely into the hands of Audrey Cordon, because this, remember, is the final climb of the Tour.
Yes, and it looks like Ensing's just about to make that junction.
So this is quite a sizable group as we sight the three again, and they are looking ahead. I think they're probably wondering just where the summit is, but it's still got quite a long way to go, believe me.
Yeah, I'm sure. I know Shara Gillow will be happy because she's the only climber in that group, but for Sarah Roy and Leah Kirchmann, who are sprinters, they're probably not enjoying this moment.
Well, here comes Ensing, as you saw, just getting up into the group as the three now come onto a drier section of the road, and still it goes up. Look at that. It ramps up again.
Wow. You could see in that group behind this group silence on the front, because they're actually the only major team here to have missed this move.
Well, look at the crowds. They've turned out, haven't they, in their thousands to support this Tour. And here are the three now getting very, very close to the top. And this is so encouraging when the road narrows and everybody's cheering. It really does make you put in that extra effort. Right, this is the lunge for the line. Let's have a look who's going to get it. Well, it's Gillow of FDJ. Then the 29-year-old Australian that picks up the six. No threat to the leading contenders in the competition. Well, we said this was going to be an absorbing day's racing, particularly with the severity of the course, and so far it has proved to be. And I'm very impressed with Nui Adoma, the 22-year-old Paul, because she's responded to everything and she's now dictating the pace of the five here.
Yeah, that's right. Of course, she has to now. This is her only opportunity to be able to control the race. So she's with the best climbers in the world, and she's taking this race on. Well,
there we are. That's the result confirmed. Gillow over the top first. Go through the rest of the places, and you can see that the two contenders for top spot in that competition, Brand and Cordon, didn't take part. And now we can confirm that Cordon is the overall winner of the Skoda Queen of the Mountains. So she's the first classification winner of this year's Tour. Well, both climbs are now out of the way, and one of the sprints, and the situation is we've got three riders ahead, then that group of five and the peloton. It's very, very interesting at this stage.
It is, and you can see the green helmets here of the silence riders, because as I said earlier, this is the only major team who've missed this move. So they're going to be wanting to either chase this group down or try and send somebody across.
Looking here at the three leaders who are working well, that's the way to try and stay ahead. Lots more to come. Well, on the descent of Critch, the last climb of the Tour, there's been a big regrouping, and the only riders ahead of the peloton now are the three you're looking at.
They've only got a lead of 15 to 20 seconds now, so I think we could see them being caught.
And Majerus has realised that, and she's taken off from the peloton. Now then, she's setting out to try and bridge to the three that are still ahead. And there's quite a lot of activity going on here. That looks like Cordon on the right as well.
Yes, because of course Wiggle, High Five have missed that move as well. You could see, I think that's Lucinda Brandt ahead. She's also trying to get across.
So if Majerus could link up with the three, and it looks as though she's bridging very quickly, four starting to work, could put the green jersey under a lot of pressure.
That's right. Of course, these three have been working hard, and Majerus is going to have fresher legs than them, so I think she could make this.
So the peloton all in a long line here. I'll call it the peloton, but it's a very, very depleted peloton. But they're in a long, thin line, and that's always an indication that the pressure is being applied. And the leaders have just left the feed zone, and that looks very much to me where Majerus made the big effort, and she's almost going to make the junction.
Yeah, I think she's going to make this one. It's just worth noting there, Hugh, that here some of the riders find it quite difficult because they have to take the feed on the left-hand side of the road, whereas racing in Europe, they're much more used to grabbing bottles from the right-hand side.
But that really is a scant advantage, and you can see the green jersey at the front. So she is looking out all the time for anybody that can create pressure for her. But she will be aware of the fact that Majerus has gone down the road of Boels-Dolman, and she won't like that.
No, this is a tricky situation for her. She's isolated from her teammates, which is exactly what the other teams want. But I think she'll probably be hoping, taking a gamble, that some of the other teams are going to be wanting a stage win here. And hopefully we don't have Wiggle represented, or Silence, or Ale Cipollini, and they're all in this group behind, so she'll be hoping they're going to be helping to chase back.
Well, Majerus started the day 7th overall at 1 minute and 55 seconds back, and she'll be aware of the fact that they're getting near to the second sprint at Staveley, and she'll be looking to try and snap up the 3 seconds there.
Yeah, and look at the determination on that voice. She's really on a mission here.
She's teeing herself up seriously for a tilt, trying to depose the leader, Niewiadoma, who's held that race leader's jersey ever since stage 1. She looks pretty good to me.
She does, and really lacking from this move is a Wiggle rider.
She's doing the lion's share of the work. She's asking for the rest to come through. They don't seem very keen to contribute. Either they don't want to, or they can't. Now there's a glorious shot of Hardwick Hall in Derbyshire, an architecturally significant Elizabethan country house built between 1590 and 1597 for the formidable Bess of Hardwick. It was designed by the architect Robert Smythson and now belongs to the National Trust and is fully open to the public. And I can tell you it was used to film the scenes of Malfoy Manor in Harry Potter. What a glorious shot that is. Beautiful countryside. And of course the countryside here is providing us with a perfect playground to decide this penultimate stage.
That's right, we're back on bigger roads here too, which isn't going to favour the break ahead. And here we have Audrey Cordon from Wiggle High Five on the front driving this. Of course they don't have anybody represented up the road.
Well, the leading group now of course has swelled to 4, and they're just inside a kilometre away from the second sprint in the Iceberg Sprint classification today at Staveley.
That's right, and of course they won't be going after the points here, but they could well be going after the seconds.
Yeah, 2 riders in the 4 here are keen to try and get these seconds. That's Kirchmann and Majerus. I can tell you that Kirchmann started the day 2 minutes and 2 seconds back in 15th position. She's already picked up 3 seconds in the first sprint at Belper. How important are they going to be when we add them up? Because if ever the 4 were to stay clear, remember there's still 10, 6 and 4 on the line, so the overall leader is going to be fully aware of the importance of this move.
That's right, and this chase group are looking quite disorganised. Audrey Cordon's there with Elisa Longo Borghini from Wiggle High Five, both in the black jerseys. But of course the Bowman's riders behind them aren't going to be chasing because they already have Majerus at the front.
Well, Cordon on the left is having a chat to Borghini. Now, what's she saying?
Yeah, I think there's only 2 of them, of course, and nobody's... It looks like they're trying to discuss who should take the responsibility to chase.
Do you know, I reckon Cordon, you see her shaking her head there, I don't think she's very keen on the flavour.
Well, of course, it could be that.
Now, ahead of the 4 is the line in Staveley. 3 seconds for the first, 2 seconds for the second. So there's 4 that are going to be in the shake-up for the valuable seconds here, remember. There's Majerus, Roy, Kirchmann and Gillow. But the time is going to be more useful to Majerus and Kirchmann. And already Majerus is setting herself up here for the maximum 3 seconds, and nobody's going to deny her. So on the line, it is 3 seconds to Majerus. So useful time again taken back.
That's right, and it was only Majerus and Kirchmann that contested that. I think Shara Gillow and Sarah Roy aren't too bothered. They're just more keen on a stage win.
Well, there is the result confirmed, and it's 1:46 the gap now, so there's about 26 kilometres to go to the finish. Now then, the alarm bells could be ringing here then for Niewiadoma. She's under pressure. She's going to have to do some work. The race is now approaching the final 10 kilometres and the 4 are still ahead. And I can tell you at one point they were ahead by almost 2 minutes and 20 seconds, which meant that Majerus was the race leader on the road. But that's been cut back significantly, and the peloton behind, or what's left of it, are starting to chase them down.
Yeah, you could just see there Leah Kirchmann took a look back to see how close they were and then decided she was still going to take this on, so she's done an attack.
And that injection of pace has shook off the Australian riding on FDJ Shara Gillow. So there's now 3 survivors out in front.
Of course, Shara Gillow was in the break for a big majority of the day yesterday and attacked so early today, so that's probably why her day's done.
3 now, still intent on trying to stay clear to the finish. But the fact that that lead has come down significantly must be music to the ears then of Nui Adoma, who at one point must have thought the race was being taken away from her in the closing stages.
Yeah, this is a perfect scenario for her now. The gap's not big enough to threaten her place on the GC, but these riders they'll still be wanting a podium place.
Just look at the crowds, masses and masses of people have come out to support the tour. And looking at the group there's work being done at the front, because as you can see, it's beginning to thin out.
Yeah, you could see that's Bigler working on the front, because of course Ashley Moolman's actually only 6 seconds off 3rd place, so Bigler will be wanting to bring this break back.
And also remember, Ellen Van Dijk started the day at 1:43 second. There is confirmation of the leading group. And Mazuras very keen to get on with it here. She is the strongest, remember, because the other 2 have been out front much longer. Now then, we're going to get a shot back here to see just how close the group are. Still panning back, well, getting near to it now. There they are. So they have almost got the group in sight.
Yeah, and Shara Gillow is just about to be swallowed up here. It's going to be an interesting finish with these 3. Of course, they're all actually very good sprinters, Leah Kirchmann, Sarah Roy and Mazuras, so we'll be in for a good finish here if they can stay away.
And the rider that was distanced from the leading group is now about to be swallowed up, and that's Shara Gillow. So she's back in the peloton, and it's Cervelo Bigler on the front here, and the Dutch champion.
Yes, that's Anouska Koska there. She's working obviously for Niewiadoma from WM3, so she does have a teammate now, which is great.
Well, it's still 40 seconds, so there's a lot of work to do by the group if they want to pull them back to get involved in the sprint. Just caught a glimpse at Van der Breggen there, back in 3rd position.
Yeah, of course, you can see 4 Boels Dolmans riders here in orange and Anna van der Breggen in the pink jersey, the Women's World Tour. They, of course, won't be doing any work because their teammate Mazuras is up the road.
They'll be more eager to try and disrupt the rhythm of the group behind.
Yes, that's right.
So spreading out right across the road here now. Just got a glimpse of one of the Ayla Cipollini riders as well. And there you can see in the green jersey the overall race leader, Nui Adoma. She's never ever far away from the action, just keeping a sharp eye out on anyone that fancies trying to jump down the road.
And of course Alice Barnes was in that group. She's in the best British rider in the pink jersey there.
And she's had a stormer of a tour. She's been right up there in the mix at the end of the stages. But look at this, the champion of Luxembourg on the front. She really does want to get on with it, and what a cracking descending style. Down to 30 seconds now.
Yeah, and this is a very strong group chasing behind. We've now got Wiggle High 5 on the front. This is Claudia Lichtenberg. Of course, Wiggle don't have anybody represented, and they're also going to be after a stage win.
Yep, so it's looking to me as though they are on borrowed time as we get to the 5 kilometre point. 30 seconds the advantage, and another attack on the front from Mazuras, and she shook off yet another member of the group.
And Mazuras is really taking this race on, and it looks here like Leah Kirchmann is going to be dropped, and Sarah Roy is now taking her turn.
Well, that would be a turn-up, wouldn't it, if Kirchmann was distanced 15th at 2 minutes and 2 seconds at the start of the day, the 26-year-old Canadian. But now she's back up again, and that will be useful for the other 2, because they need to stay together and keep working.
Yeah, and you can see Niewiadoma, she's staying near the front just to try and monitor what is happening.
So smooth roads here, and it looks very much as though it's dried out, and that's good because there are cobbles at the finish and a pinch point, so the drier the road makes it safer on the approach to the line.
And you can see we've got somebody else on the front of the peloton now. They know that this gap needs to be brought down quickly because we're within 4k to go now.
And Mazuras actually has finished 3rd overall and won a couple of stages in the history of the race, and Kirchmann was 2nd to Vos on the points last year. For Sarah Roy, it's 4th appearance in the Tour, her best place 67th in 2015.
Yes, and Sarah Roy also got 4th on the GC at the Tour of Chongming a month ago.
And you saw on the screen there that the lead is now down to 20 seconds. And there were riders from Ayla Cipollini on the front there. Remember, they've got a great sprinter with Chloe Hosking that won the stage yesterday. They've also got Martia Bastianelli, a former world champion. So they are no doubt licking their lips here at the thought of being involved in the sprint for the stage.
Yes, that's right. Of course, they know now GC for the first position isn't going to be possible, but they do want this valuable stage win.
And the three still tenaciously hanging on to the lead. Well, it's been a stage that's been absolutely encrusted with drama, but it's come down to this: can the three stay away? And as we said earlier, 2:20 was the advantage at one point, but now they're just clinging to the advantage. And yet again, Mažuras injects pace, and we've got a victim coming off the back yet again.
Yeah, that's a significant attack there, and it looks like Leah Kirchmann really is struggling now.
Yeah, Kirchmann's gone this time. She won't come back from that. So we've got two left now, with 3 kilometres to go. Can they hold off the bunch behind?
Yeah, this is a very impressive ride from Sarah Roy. She's normally a domestique for Orica Scott, and of course I think I mentioned earlier before that they don't have their climbers here, so this is a great opportunity for her.
And Orica Scott are searching for their first World Tour win this year. Danny King, second wheel back, also getting involved in the mix.
Yeah, this is Ashley Moorman-Passio. She's from Bigler, and she's only 6 seconds off third place, so it's going to be in her interest to try and bring this break back as well.
And Moorman-Passio was second overall in this race last year, but these two, the brace of leaders, are determined to hang on to the advantage.
Yeah, you can see Christian Mažuras, I think, just getting rid of her water bottle there. There's no need for that anymore.
So Mažuras in the hunt for her third stage victory in the history of the race. But she must have thought at one point she was going to become the overall leader, but now of course that has gone. It's now all about, can she steal a stage victory for Boels Dolman?
Yeah, Sarah Roy just checking back there to see how close the peloton are behind. Of course they know that they're very close to the finish, but in a lot of the stages they've just been caught just before the line.
So 2 kilometres to go to the finish. Now then, just talk us through the finish, Sharon. They'll need to keep a cool head here.
They will. There's quite a few roundabouts within the last 2 kilometres, but then it does get quite tricky. There's a right-hand turn with 600 metres to go, and then this road narrows to 4 metres with 200 metres to go, and then we hit some cobbles. So much better to be approaching this with 2 people rather than a peloton.
But Sarah Roy looks very, very strong to me, the 31-year-old Australian. She's no threat, of course, overall. She's 66th and 14 minutes and 12 back, but wouldn't she like to win this stage?
She would, and she's having the race of her life here.
And once again, there's a change in the pace setting, and it is Mažuras that comes to the front, who's such a talented bike rider. Very, very strong member of the Bowmans team.
Oh, we're just coming up to the 1K banner here.
Yeah, there's the OVO Energy 1 kilometre sign. Inside 1,000 metres when they cross it. Now then, who's going to nail this one?
Well, interestingly, Sarah Roy's just sitting on the back here. She's not coming through.
Well, she's got the element of surprise in her favour. If Mažuras is going to be happy to pull her along all the way then to the approach, but look further back, there's the rider that's been distanced, and that's Leah Kirchmann. So Kirchmann is still actually within touching distance of the two.
Yeah, she hasn't given up. She can see them ahead.
Can she bridge? And if she does bridge, will she have expended too much energy to contest the sprint? Still at the front, it's Mažuras being forced to lead.
And you can see now Sarah Roy is just staying behind. She's playing this very tactically just before they come to the point where the road's going to narrow.
And the chasing group has swelled in numbers, so they can only be about 10 to 15 seconds behind.
That's right. And look, wow, this looks like Leah Kirchmann could even be, she's so close to catching these other 2 riders.
And they're getting very, very close to the finish now. Oh, Sarah Roy just found a spot through on the inside, and it looks like Roy, the Australian, may hold off Mažuras here. In fact, she's going away from her. Wow, look at the smile across the face here of Sarah Roy. She's going to make it to the line. This is going to be a great victory for Orica Scott.
Wow.
She punches the air with delight and clinches the stage. And second place was Mažuras. Coming over third was Kirchmann, and this is going to be the sprint for fourth. He's been led out there by Ayla Cipollini, and it's the former world champion Bastianelli that gets fourth spot over the line.
Well, that was such an incredible finish. You could see the expression on Sarah Roy's face. She looked like she just couldn't believe that she'd won.
And the green jersey's home safe and sound. Sarah Roy outsprinted Christine Mažuras to clinch the win, and Leah Kirchmann hung on for third. Marta Bastianelli was the quickest of the chasing bunch, 17 seconds back, and another good finish from Hannah Barnes in fifth. The victory on stage 4 of the OVO Energy Women's Tour goes to Orica Scott's Sarah Roy, her greatest career win.
This is a career highlight for sure. World Tour event. I've been on the podium once before in a World Tour, and to win here is really massive. And we have a small Orica Scott team here this week, and we've had a lot of bad luck in the last few days, and we've keep on keeping on, and we're digging deep every day. And it was a massive team effort today, so really glad to pull it off.
Christine Majouras now leads the Wiggle points classification despite failing to clinch the stage or take the race lead. With no climbs in tomorrow's stage, Audrey Cordon is confirmed as the winner of the 2017 Skoda Queen of the Mountains jersey.
I knew that I had to do the first QM full gas because I didn't know if I would be there in the second one. And we tried to take as much point as we could, and then I knew that it was only 6 points between me and Lucinda Brand. So she had to do the second one, and unfortunately for her there was this breakaway, and it was good for me that the girls at the front could take the points.
In the Iceberg Sprints classification, Jolene Dorr has a 2-point advantage over Christine Majouras and Katie Archibald. The sibling rivalry continues for the Adnams Best British Rider jersey, Anna Barnes reclaiming it from her young sister Alice. It looked like Katarzyna Niewiadoma might lose the race lead today, but she fought hard and stays firmly in charge of the OVO Energy Green jersey.
When my arrows went, I knew it's not ideal situation for me, and yeah, I tried to stay calm and relax because I also knew that other teams want to bring it back. And then a lot of the groups came together, and we were like with that one big bunch, and I had one of my teammates there, and she started to help me to bring it back, so that was great at the end.
With just the London stage to go, Niewiadoma's advantage of 1:25 looks unassailable. Christine Majouras is second, 11 seconds ahead of Leah Kirchmann in third. Ellen van Dijk is just 2 seconds off a podium place, with the Barnes sisters hot on her heels.
Congratulations there to Sarah Roy. What an exciting stage, probably the most of the week so far. Rochelle, how big was that win for Sarah Roy, especially because she's normally the domestique?
Yeah, it was a massive win for Sarah. I mean, she rides in predominantly an Australian team, Orica, so they share around the responsibilities, but they also have some really big stars, which I think has been a bit restricted for Sarah in the past. But coming to this race without their key climbers, I think really opened some doors for Sarah Roy, and she really took it. So it was a massive win for her. I mean, first World Tour win for Orica this year, and Sarah Roy probably didn't imagine that she'd be the one in the team that did that, so a special day for her.
And how about Christine Majouras? Was it a bit of a gamble what she was doing?
Well, I think in her case that once she came across to those three riders, that she was the strongest sprinter there, and she descends really well. There was a descent into the finish. So she could have won the stage, but she gambled. She got into that distance of maybe being able to take away the green jersey from Kasia Niewiadoma. She had a handy lead, and she was pushing for that GC. And in that case, she ended up losing the stage in the end. But even still, she had a great ride, and I think for bowls that they always want to race and win for the GC, so that's what they did. They gambled. I think they're going to throw out a really tough challenge tomorrow as well.
And you just mentioned Kasia Niewiadoma. She's retained the green jersey, but how hard was it for her to keep it, especially with Marianne Vos out?
I think it was a really big ask from Kasia, what she did today, because her strongest teammate, Marianne Vos, was, broken collarbone yesterday and out. So just the mental pressure last night of knowing that you're not going to have that strong support right next to you, and it's all up to her individually. And I think it played into her hands a little bit that some of the other teams wanted to try and chase and go for a stage victory today. They didn't quite get there, but it helped Kasia stay in the green jersey for another day.
OK, then let's look forward to tomorrow then, because we're going down to London. What would the teams expect? Because it's so different, isn't it, from the rest of the stages?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like a very big criterium. It's a very good spectators race, and the riders it'll be an aggressive race. It'll be action-packed because everybody wants that last chance of a victory, and to get out there on show in front of people, and the crowds will be so fantastic. So I think tomorrow we're going to see a very aggressive race. Kasia will be the only rider probably in the peloton riding a little defensively. She'll have to pick her moves to follow, and the important riders to try and hold on to that leader's jersey for the OVO Energy Women's Tour, which is that if she goes home with a green jersey, it's going to be the biggest victory of her career.
We look forward to it tomorrow, and Jill Douglas will be back in London bringing you the final stage of the OVO Energy Women's Tour. We'll see you then.